On August 9, 1969, a week before the historic Woodstock Festival, Charles Manson shocked the world through the brutal and ritualistic murder of actress and model Sharon Tate, wife of movie director Roman Polanski. Tate, who was 8.5 months pregnant at the time, was not directly killed by Charles Manson himself, but was murdered by his cult following consisting of mainly brainwashed girls. Manson never actually murdered anybody, but he was the brilliant mastermind behind a group of killers. But how did Manson end up with influence and complete power over his followers? Manson was born November 12, 1934 to 16-year-old Kathleen Maddox. Manson never knew his biological father. He spent most of his childhood between homes in Charleston, West Virginia. Manson did not have a stable and balanced family and had to do much on his own as a child.
Tell me, if you could describe your childhood in a couple of sentences, how would you describe it?
I didn't have a childhood. Yeah, I had a terrible childhood. But I'm from here. The child doesn't know what terrible is.
You don't want to talk about it, I think.
I'm telling you, a child doesn't know what terrible is.
He was so determined to be the center of attention that he deliberately misbehaved when the grown-ups were around. Small and weak-looking, Manson learned to manipulate others. Beginning in first grade, Charlie would recruit gullible classmates, mostly girls, to attack other students that he didn't like. He'd swear to teachers that his kid followers were just doing what they wanted and couldn't be held responsible for their actions. As a teen, Manson committed a string of burglaries that resulted in him spending time in jail. Manson was inexplicably shaped by years in penal institutions. Manson relied on the friendliness and community of the hippie era to create the Manson family. The quasi-commune family consisted of young women and men controlled by Manson who believed that they could survive off their own skill and land. They desired to live as a group.
Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love?
He found lonely outcasts like himself, and they gave each other the affection that they had always sought after. This family was many of the members' first experience to a loving community. Charles Manson's eerie ability to control his family of young hippies in California remains as mysterious and intriguing today as it did in 1969. The family generally consisted of about 12 girls and 6 boys, living in an indolent life of easy sex.
The reason that the girls liked me was, hey now, I'm all around you, hey now, up on your heart I can sing through you, and I play and I sing.
Manson had an undeniable sense of charm and attracted a young audience. He was a criminal in his 30s, but Manson was otherwise as naive as the teenagers to whom he gravitated.
What do you think it is about you that makes people want to be a part of whatever it is you're a part of?
I'm brand new. Everything I do is always brand new. I'm on the premise of reality. I walk a real road. I'm a real person.
Manson controlled those he attracted, but he also learned from them. He played the role of the father, teacher, lover, god, and devil. He attracted followers who beheld him in messianic awe, but at the same time were terrified of his brutality.
Then, and when I stand on the mountain and I say, do it, it gets done. If it don't get done, then I'll move on it. And that's the last thing in the world you want me to do.
Throughout his life, Charlie Manson was always fascinated by music. Manson had ambition to be a pop star and took piano and guitar lessons while in prison well before the murders. Manson's musical teacher and mentor was one of the cleverest of all 1930s bank robbers and public enemies, Alvin "Creepy" Karpis. According to Karpis, Manson approached him and said he wanted to learn guitar and become a music star, but little Charlie was so lazy and shiftless, I doubt if he'll put in the time required to learn. However, Manson was stunned and delighted to find that playing the role of a gentle musician could bring him food, a place to stay, and all the sex he wanted. His music consisted of acoustic guitar and showcased his hillbilly roots. His values were clear: freedom, spirituality, and self-expression. He was influenced by many other artists of the time, and befriended both Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys and Terry Melcher, a record producer and the son of Doris Day. Manson's dream was to become a recognizable musician, and he recorded many songs. Producer Tony Melcher demonstrated interest in Manson's music and made promises to give Manson a contract. However, Manson was denied by the music industry, and these promises fell through. He became frustrated with the corporate entertainment business consisting of people he considered to be friends. Manson severed ties with Wilson and Melcher and wanted to get revenge on them. In order to create fear in Melcher, Manson ordered his followers to completely destroy the house that Melcher used to live in the most gruesome way possible. Melcher's old house was the current house of Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski. The rejection of Manson's music by industry executives who had once befriended him only sparked more murders. Karpus concluded that the history of crime in the United States might have been considerably altered if little Charlie had been given the opportunity to find fame and fortune in the music industry. Manson became obsessed with the Beatles and was inspired by the belief of Helter Skelter, a name taken from the title of a popular Beatles song. In Manson's mind, the Beatles song included a number of coded messages and hidden meanings. Manson believed that the song Helter Skelter signifies an arising race war between whites and blacks. He believed that black men, deprived of white women, would commit violent crimes in frustration, resulting in murderous rampages and a swiftly escalating conflict between racial groups. Manson prophesied that a race war would erupt, destroying all major cities and decimating the white population, and that he would rise up from the desert to rule over the remains of the human race. Manson was a cult leader with methods of a pimp and the goals of a messiah. During August of 1969, the Manson family committed a set of 2 murders in Los Angeles. On August 9th, Manson's followers, but not Manson himself, entered the house of pregnant actress Sharon Tate. At Manson's command, the group of 4 followers brutally murdered the pregnant actress, her gardener's son, and 4 of Tate's friends. Manson's followers showed no remorse for their actions and were as brutal as possible. The members of the Manson family used the blood of their victims to paint "Death to Pigs" on a window and "Helter Skelter" on a refrigerator. Manson's gang fled the scene and the next day committed a similar murder. However, Manson himself participated in the murders on the second night. The gang entered the house of supermarket owner Lino LaBianca and killed him and his wife. The Manson family demonstrated a similar form of brutality, and the word "war" was carved into the stomach of Mr. LaBianca with a fork. These murders serve as a dark shadow of the Woodstock Festival and the hippie era as a whole. It took authorities nearly 5 months after the murders to track down the Manson family. Charles Manson became a national phenomenon. The public was fascinated and terrified of his terrifying mix of a libertine counterculture and stupefying mind control. Despite the horrific murders, Manson has never apologized or shown remorse.
Guilty. I wouldn't do anything that I felt guilty about.
You don't feel guilty at all?
There's no need to feel guilty. I haven't done anything I'm ashamed of. Maybe I haven't done enough. I might be ashamed of that. Maybe I should have killed 400 or 500 people, then I would have felt better. Then when I felt like I really offered society something.
After a 7-month trial, Manson and all of his followers were found guilty. Manson and 4 of his followers were sentenced to death, while the rest of his followers received life in prison. However, in 1972, the death penalty was abolished in California, and the death penalty turned into a sentence of life in prison. Manson, now 82, is spending the rest of his life in prison in Corcoran, California.
Today, 20 years later, and they still have no idea what you're about. Tell me in a sentence who you are.
Nobody. I'm nobody. I'm a tramp, a bum, a hobo. I'm a boxcar and a jug of wine. And a straight razor if you get too close to me.